In this tutorial, we're going to look at the clearance test function. This is going to ensure that you have enough clearance in your Gerber files for the system to be able to generate the correct tool paths. Now for this, we're going to hide the board outline and the drill files. We won't need those. And we're going to change only one at a time of the component and the solder side copper to edit. We're going to start with the component side copper for a double-sided board. If you have a single-sided board, of course, you won't have this layer. You will simply have the solder side. The procedure is the same for both layers. So set all other layers to hide. Choose first the component layer. Now you will want to go to the Tools menu and Clearance Check. And the first thing you should do is hit Suggest. This will analyze your file and suggest a clearance, suggest the maximum clearance that you can have. You're going to be using a 10 mil tool, pointed tool, to mill these boards, so you're going to want to have at least 10 mils of clearance around everything. Here it's telling us this component layer has 14.9 mils of clearance. So if we just tested, if we entered 10 mils here and tested it, it will analyze this and show us that there is no problem with 10 mils of clearance. But if we put in, for instance, let's put in 15 mils of clearance. Remember, it told us there were 14.9 mils. Now when I hit test, it will pop up and show you everything that will miss that clearance, or where there's problems with that level of clearance on every piece of the board where you're having a problem. You can see that the gray areas here highlighted will all be affected if you try to generate a tool path of 15 mils with this. We're going to do 10, but you want to always hit the Suggest first. If that says less than 10, you need to go back and redo your Gerber files so that there is 10 mils of clearance. Or if there's only a couple spots, like, okay, if this pad was only highlighted gray and the area around it, then you could go in and you could remember using the aperture table or right-clicking on these, change the size of the pads to be a little smaller to get you a little more clearance. This is why the layers need to be in edit for a clearance check, is because they're going to highlight the areas that have a problem. And then you have to cancel out of this and click anywhere on the board to cause those areas to not be highlighted. So having done that, then you would change this one to hide, and your other copper layer for a double-sided board, or your only copper layer for a single-sided board, change this to edit. And the same thing, you go down to Tools, Clearance Check here, and then you hit Suggest. Always Suggest first, and let it tell you, okay, this one's going to be 16.926. So there's not going to be a problem if I put in the 10 mil tool that we'll use and test that. We can see that nowhere on this file is there any gray highlights, so there's no problem there. We always want to do this and make sure that the clearance is there. In the next tutorial, we're actually going to isolate the layers based on that clearance check.